I'd rather maximize my EBITDA, made sure I've grown my business as far as I can go, and then worry about multiples. Like I said, if multiples drop from 9x to 8x and you've grown from a million of EBITDA to 4 million of EBITDA, does it really matter? It does not.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And today I've got Gregg Schonhorn from SF&P Advisors. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks, Tim. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, we're talking about private equity and mergers and acquisitions. I know that you guys are an advisor for these things, not necessarily a PE group. So I thought I'd get kind of your perspective on like what's going on out there right now for 2025. Are things ramping up? Did we pass the inflection point? How is it hot out there? What's going on?
Yeah, it's a great question. I love it. So the way to view us, we are an investment bank, right? It's the simplest way to go about thinking about who we are, what we are. We represent sellers. SF&P has been around for 24 years now. We've completed 415 transactions worth about $3.4 billion. Really, the big thing for us over the last 2-3 months have been, historically we've done HVAC, plumbing, and electric. At the end of the day, the buyer pool is almost same. We just happen to have a massive Rolodex of buyers versus many others. A lot of the buyers are the same. Ours just runs incredibly deeper than people that have been doing it for a year, 2 years, 3 years. So over the last 2-3 months, we've actually gotten a lot of roofing mandates that have been coming our way that are most are at market, some are headed to market. I think what we're starting to see is, everybody says, oh, it's 10 years or 5 years behind HVAC. I think there is similarity that, to me, roofing has been the second fastest behind where HVAC, plumbing, and electric is. Roofing has been flying the last 2 years. You asked a question earlier, how much longer do I think this could take place? I don't think you should be in any rush whatsoever.
Okay.
It's always where you fall in the deal cap on the cap and the table. I think there's tons of room left. Because if you look at HVAC, we've done 400 deals. There's still thousands of deals taking place all over the United States. Big deals, small deals. Go ahead.
What if so this 2025, and let's say I'm making sure my EBITDA is okay. I'm getting my EBITDA better for this year to prepare for a transaction next year. Simply put, is it too late?
No way whatsoever. It's not too late. What matters more is what your business mix looks like. Roofing is, do you have door knocking? How much of it is storm related? When does it happen? When does insurance get involved? Are you collecting money from the consumer? Are you collecting money from insurance companies? I think there's so many different factors.
Give me the quick, how does that affect that multiple? And I have guesses. Can I make a guess? I would guess that if you're very focused on insurance, that it's going to affect your multiple in the negative direction because of the over dependence on an outside force that as PE you can't control.
Yeah. That's always going to be the case. That's exactly how it works. When you add door knockers, again, it makes it more challenging. If you're storm related, it adds more challenges to your business. That being said, when you go back and you historically look at HVAC, residential was it, right? Everybody wanted residential. What happened? You're left with 3, maybe 4 players left in the United States that are 100 million revenue plus. We're not even close to that happening yet in roofing. When it does, what happens? In the residential side on HVAC, plumbing, and electric, they are now looking for commercial businesses. It's just going to be the same thing in roofing, that we're going to look for residential primarily first. When they have exhausted that 2, 3, 4 years probably down the road, then they'll look for more commercial. In the meantime, hey, I'm a year out. What do I need to do? It's, are you doing accrual-based accounting? How are you accounting for your backlogs? What about your work in progress? There's so much that goes into making sure you have a great fractional CFO or an in-house CFO that's taking care of your books, preferably somebody that has done buy-side transactions, because the biggest challenge that we continue to have is guys come to us and they're ready to sell their roofing business. Most, they have 6 months to a year of work from the background of how they're doing their accounting work that they need to properly prepare to maximize their exit.
Do you have any like number? Like I know that you guys, your transactions have increased this last year on roofing. You guys are pushing into roofing hard. I hope that means it's good. It's good pickings. It's a good world. There's good stuff happening. I'm like excited for our roofing friends who seem to be getting a little bit higher multiples these days than maybe at the very beginning. But I'll give you my perception, and you can tell me if you think it's different. And I know we're kind of I'm trying to get a sense of the overall transactions, like the levels of transactions this last few years. About 5 years ago, I felt like it was fresher, like as far as like the fever pitch. Not to say there wasn't deals before that. There was. It just felt like there wasn't a lot. And 5 years ago, it felt like it was really kind of coming onto the radar. The last couple years, it feels like it's been going up. And to me, it feels like we're kind of hitting an inflection point where it's like, I would guess, and I might be wrong, that the best multiples are going to happen in this year and like this next year, before I would guess that they would start to come down if I was to try to understand, like, demand has reached what I feel like is a full-blown level in roofing.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective to think about. Are multiples at a high right now? They are. Are they going to stay here? And if I had a crystal ball to answer that, I do not. That being said, I believe that multiples will stay for 2025, 2026. The demand will be there. Here's the real critical part. When you run a great business with an amazing brand that's well recognized, you're always going to get those premium multiples no matter what. People worry more about, if I can get 10x today, well, all right, I mean, if you've got $1 million of EBITDA, 10x, great. But if you could be at $2.5 million of EBITDA and get 9.5x, what would you rather do? I'd rather take my chances and continue to grow an amazing brand, focus on my profitability, talk about efficiencies within my business, making sure that I've got the labor crews and the skill there to fulfill however many roofs we're looking to do in a year. But when you run a premium product, you're always going to get a premium multiple. I don't think that's ever going to change.
Once you get to know us, there's no reason to buy from anybody else. What we do differently is we do stake in the factory. You're truly buying direct. We don't sell to distribution. We sell to roofers, the people that have been getting hurt for years. You keep getting price increases from suppliers. We do price decreases. We've had about 4 price decreases this year. VanBoxwellBuilding.com. We have a new website, the Amazon type platform. You go right on there, click it, put it in your cart. We can send it to you, or feel free to give us a call. We'll answer any questions for you.
I really liked recently you put out a post on the internet kind of talking about, the multiples that you're seeing. You said, I'll let you do them if you want, because I like the little, like, the mini report real quick for people. Restoration at 8+X multiples, plumbing, HVAC, electrical. You guys did 10 deals with 10X plus multiples. Garage, 8+. Roofing, 8 to 9X. Plumbing only 9+. Electrical, 7 to 8. Largest multiples are in the 13 to 14X range. Pools, 9X. Landscape, 8+X. That looks really hopeful to me. Like, as I'm looking through those, it looks like that it's pretty good in home services right now. Like, the getting is good, it feels like.
So here's what's interesting. It's not just a $100 million business that got the 13 to 14X. We did some smaller deals, million and change, that got that kind of premium on the business. So, some people think, to get that, I need to be the largest EBITDA.
Yeah.
It's about what city you're in, how well your brand is. There's so much that goes into why you get what multiple that you get. Roofing, I think we've seen a pretty good climb, and the ranges of the deals that we've done, they've been 7x, 8 to 9, pretty much is where the bulk of ours are going to fall. Does that not mean I think we get somebody 10x? It is possible that it's out there, and it is possible that it takes place for the right market, for the right brand. And again, a lot of that goes into what the books look like behind it and the growth opportunity around the area.
I love that. Any other stats you've got? Because I loved that little report, and I'm going to keep on trying to, every 6 months or whatever, get the, PE report from you, because you guys have this kind of outside, unique perspective a little bit from, because you're talking to multiple buyers all the time.
I'm a little surprised nobody here yelled at me for posting sort of that. Well, I'm not giving up clients' names at all, but I'm a little surprised that nobody here at SFP got really upset with me, because I'm not making this stuff up.
Yeah.
These are executed levels, and most buyers and some of the other people that are known for sort of doing roofing deals, they want to set a narrative of here's where transactions actually take place. And I'm just saying, whether you're higher, lower, or whatever, these are the levels that we're getting. It's an honest, straightforward opinion, because it's fact.
Yeah.
So give me an example of what other sort of statistic.
Yeah, I was curious, another one that people might care about a lot is what the lower end of what you're capable of selling, helping people sell, is well, I'm saying more on yeah, sure. I guess revenues is a comment. I think for guys like me, I would guess I don't know what my real EBITDA is. It's very hard for whatever reason. That's really hard for me to get down to or boil down very quickly. Are we talking 7 million is the bottom end? Yeah, I bet you will, Greg. Greg just does all these podcasts because he wants to roll me up eventually. But no, are we talking in the 7 million is the kind of the bottom range of what's possible to sell right now, or is it 10?
No, it's so I'm focused on EBITDA, right? For
Yeah.
us here at SFP, a smaller deal for us, friends and family, is kind of that $500,000 EBITDA. The bulk of what we do on a day-to-day basis is the 1 to 2 million.
Yeah.
And then, the people that we use as our headliners can be 3 million, 10 million, 15, 20 million of EBITDA. That's for sure. So what's normal? Normal is that million to 2 million is typically when my phone starts ringing, when people get in that range and they're looking for, whether it's 10 million or they're looking for a $20 million exit. We talked about this last time. There's always questions to ask when people call, hey, I'm at this revenue. I always ask the questions, and I said this to you last time. Are you sick and tired of going to work? Have you hit a ceiling that you can't break through? What are you going to do next? I think those are really, really important questions where most sort of brokerage would just be I want the engagement, I'll take the engagement. I think there really needs to be a lot of thought that goes into why are you selling? Is it generational wealth now for your family? Because depending on where you live, a $10 million exit is very different in the middle of somewhere versus I'm in Los Angeles. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot of factors that go into when is the right time to strike, where is your business at, but that sort of sweet spot when my phone really starts ringing is people get to the $1 million plus. I think once you're into that, in the roofing space, once you're into the 2 to 4 million of EBITDA, those are typically the bigger size businesses that people are trying to be attracted to and grab. We're doing some that are much bigger than that, which is awesome, but that's typically a really good breaking point of, hey, I'm doing 12, 15 million in revenue. We've got 2, 3 plus of EBITDA. What are we looking at to exit these days?
And this is kind of that news update for 2025, roofing, private equity, mergers and acquisitions. What are some other things that feel like they're shifting right now? Is there anything that feels like it's something shifting? Are we,
Big shift was really into the commercial space. It was really something that was a little more frowned upon than its residential. And the recognition of recurring revenue and what we can get off some of the larger maintenance agreements, the synergies. Think about this, Tim. I go by a HVAC business in Atlanta where Coca-Cola is, and I've got a Coca-Cola contract, and I'm a big contractor, and we want to expand to other cities and make other purchases from PE. How can I get into Walmart? How can I get into Coke? Who can I purchase from a commercial standpoint that will get me into some of these larger commercial contracts? And I think a big shift has been towards commercial. I will say from companies that currently do, even if it's roofing or it's HVAC, plumbing, electric, any of this home service trades, really, how you run your accounting will be very different, and it's worth a much deeper conversation. Because if somebody called me up and said, hey, I own an HVAC, plumbing, and electrical business, we do 20 million in commercial and 20 million in residential, you are better off splitting your businesses and selling them separately. 9 times out of 10. And that's a lot of work that goes into that.
I know, ChatGPT and Google are not like that smart, but like they're saying like multiples of like 4x to 6.5x were common. And so I guess I'm also just trying to get to the bottom of like why a little bit more right now? Like why now is this happening? Like what? Is it just because it's one of the final frontiers for home services and it just needs to happen? Or what really happened?
I think HVAC, plumbing, and electric and stuff got a little tired. I think different investment bankers stepped into some spaces in roofing. They stepped into pest. They've stepped into other verticals because they saw the success that a company like SF&P had in 2015, 2016, 17. Before anybody was doing transactions, we were the beginning of the frontier in creating a lot of the platforms that exist today. So it's natural that investment banks would pop up and start moving to other verticals. And I think you've seen a couple of years worth of some really good transactions in roofing, but it really sped up in 2024. I think we continue to see the momentum in 2025 and 2026. There's always going to be opportunities. As I said earlier, when you build an amazing brand with a well-run business, you will always get top multiples.
Does your company want to build your brand and get more jobs in the neighborhoods you're currently working in?
The Brick by Brick playbook allows you to establish your brand, your reputation, and gain trust in any neighborhood in your service area with a series of 4 postcards sent once a week to the neighbors of your current jobs. If you want to get more work in the neighborhoods you're currently working in, get with the team at Dope Marketing and get your Brick by Brick playbook set up today.
That's encouraging. I like that. So don't be an idiot and rush too fast in your transaction.
Yeah, if somebody's pressuring you based on where they think multiples are hot today, you need to sell today, they don't have your best interest at heart, right? They really should be asking. The understanding of why now should always be the person that has your best interest will always ask the why now. What is it you're struggling with? How do we help fix and solve that without selling it? Is the work that can be done in your business over the next year or two worth exponentially more to be able to grow EBITDA, right? But again, roofing is more, I think part of what we tend to see in roofing is some of the owners have aged. And I think the early days of roofing, the first opportunities to sell in 21, 22, 23, when the market just started, I think you saw a lot of those roofers that were in their 60s, that were in their 70s. Now you're seeing some younger guys come into that market, and the market's gotten hot from a younger business owner perspective. That there's always going to be those businesses to sell, but I do think there is a little of the age-related what sped up at first. The other biggest challenge in roofing will always be labor, right? I mean, it is what it is. Whether you W-2 your contractor, your employees, but the bulk are 1099. Depending on where you are in America, you've got seasonality behind it as well. So I think one of the largest stressors when you think about should I sell or shouldn't sell, bet you a lot of it comes down to labor as well.
It is scary. I mean, I don't want to go into political stuff, but potentially with labor right now, there might be some things as far as 33% of construction workers in the United States are immigrants, and so that's a lot, and it's something to be considered. Yeah. Give us a second. Like they couldn't come fast enough at this point. Respectfully, honestly, I hope that. I don't want to go into it. I don't want to go into it. But I hope that there's not like we need our boys. We need our boys on the roof. That's all I'm saying. But to round it out, if you were to sell your roofing company this year or next year, and you don't know how to not do another business, you gotta get into it again. What are you going to? What's your next business?
If I'm selling my roofing, what am I doing next?
Yeah.
I tell people at this point, pest has the highest multiples, 12 to 15x.
Yeah.
I think that's a great vertical to get in. I still believe in HVAC, plumbing, and electric. I think there's always going to be amazing opportunities. No matter where you are, it's always going to be one of the cream of the crops to come. But there's fire safety. Is pretty hot as well. But roofing, if I'm selling that, I'm opening an HVAC, plumbing, and electrical business. No doubt about it next.
Really? Why?
It's always going to have those high multiples. I don't think that's going to change. That 8, 9, 10, 11, 12x for $1 million, $2 million of EBITDA. For the much larger companies, they'll go get 13, 14x. It's always going to be out there.
You wouldn't go just pure plumbing or something like that, just because to me, HVAC feels like a little bit of a red ocean. It's like red ocean, blue ocean. You know what I'm talking about? Like for the listener, the red ocean being one that you have so many competitors it hurts, and there's a lot of private equity that's kind of feisty, versus blue ocean being. I feel like plumbing, maybe it's a little less intense of competition, but that might be, I don't know,
So my belief system is you have a much larger average ticket when it comes to HVAC. So you need less leads to generate larger tickets.
Yes.
So the shift that took place kind of over the last year and a half of HVAC always got the highest multiple of the three, HVAC, plumbing, and electric.
Yeah.
Plumbing last year kind of got equal to, if not ahead. Why? Because so many HVAC businesses have been bought. Now what do they need? Well, if we add plumbing, a 10 million revenue HVAC business might be 5,000 clients.
Gotcha.
But a 10 million revenue plumbing is going to be 15,000 clients. Yeah. So now we're adding much larger databases because there's so many more transactions that need to take place from a plumbing perspective. Forever, electrical is the redheaded stepchild of the three, and everybody talks about, well, it's 4x, 5x. Well, we're closing one in the next couple of weeks that we're going to end up almost at 8x on electrical only. And there's some interesting things happen in that sector. If you go back through my Facebook posts, you'll see about my comments on electrical only and sort of what that looks like, and been having a lot of good conversations on that. But that's really the cycle of what's been taking place is I can get a much larger database out of plumbing than I would HVAC.
That's super interesting. What about just throwing in roofing at this point? I mean, you see Lee's, Catherine Howard and her company go from 30 to 100 million. I know that not a massive percentage of that is probably roofing, but I mean, them layering it on and more of those people layering it on is definitely interesting.
Again, it goes back to the type of roofing business that you're doing. How much is insurance? What's storm damage? How many are we doing with door knockers? What the traditional, are we doing commercial versus residential? There's a lot that goes into it. I think from, you could see a 4X on one business and you could see 9X to 10X on another business in the same market that are just run completely different because the clientele is different. But when you go out to some of these events, and there's a couple of booths at the events, and let's just say your buddy here at SF&P isn't there, they may tell you it's 4X, 5X, 6X, because they care about their bottom line. My job is to represent you as a seller and provide you with the best outcome possible.
Well, hey, I appreciate you giving us this update for 2025. I think I like just like checking in with you every once in a while to get the temperature. I hope it doesn't get colder at the end of this year. I hope that it stays hot for the next couple years at least. I have a couple homies that are trying to get fully baked. You know what I mean?
I feel like you're okay over the.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's going away over the next 2 years by any stretch of the imagination.
I think that's the fear, is like selling when you're not fully baked.
Right. I'd rather maximize my EBITDA, made sure I've grown my business as far as I can go, and then worry about multiples. Like I said, if multiples drop from 9X to 8X and you've grown from $1 million of EBITDA to $4 million of EBITDA, does it really matter? It does not.
Amazing.
Focus on your revenue, focus on your net to the bottom line. The multiples will always be there for premium products.
All right, and check out Gregg. Where can people go and get a conversation with you guys?
Sure. The easiest, I guess, is you can go email me at Gregg, Gregg, at sfpadvisors.com. And the easiest way to get a hold of me is my cell phone, 973-919-5509. You can also hit me up on socials. I tend to post a bunch. Anybody can ID me. Feel free to reach out. Love doing valuations and helping people build plans for the future.
Awesome. And thank you everyone for watching. Podcast is put on by hookagency.com. Hook Agency all over social media. We'd be happy to help you grow as well so you can get prepared to sell. Appreciate you guys. Bye.